If you are a parent of an athlete, I want you to hear this. You are already your kid's most powerful mental performance coach. It's not me. It's not their strength coach. It's not their varsity coach. It's you. The way you talk in the minivan, at the dinner table, and after games is literally wiring your athlete's brain for either confidence or anxiety. That is a lot of pressure, and it's kind of daunting. And that's why I created my free email course called the Resilient Parents Playbook. In it, I walk you through the 5 most common mistakes we make as sports parents, and I give you simple, practical tools to fix them. You'll learn how to praise effort and attitude instead of just results, how to handle the car ride home, and how to help your kid manage nerves and pressure in a healthy way. It's completely free. Just hit the link in the show notes and grab the Resilient Parents Playbook and start becoming the kind of mental coach your athlete actually needs at home.
This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Toman. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission to help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle.
All right, welcome back, Metalheads. It is the Mental Mettle Podcast with Coach Toman here. And so 2 things going to mix together here. Number 1, I'm going to I ask every time, and I'm going to start with it today. If you're here and you're listening, and you plan to listen to this and you follow me at all, do me a favor, hit the like button on something, share something of mine to somebody else, subscribe it, engage with a post. If you see one of my posts online and you like, oh, I like that part, I like the way that person said that, whatever, hit a like, make a comment. It really helps. And the way that it helps, a couple things, is every time that we like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage with social media or some of this platform, however you want to do it, it helps grow the podcast. And that's, I want that for a couple reasons. One, I create this podcast. It's not a money maker for me. It's a free resource. And when you do that, other people find it, listen to it, pay attention to it. But it spreads enough that it's easier for me to get guests and good guests to get on here because they start finding the podcast because you like, share, subscribe, comment, do those things. And they reach out and want to be on the show, which is, at times it's easy. The podcasting is fun. I really enjoy it, but you don't get the numbers. Well, it doesn't matter what we do in life. We always have these numbers and we want these things, and it's hard to get. Especially me. I'm an Enneagram type 3, which means I'm an achiever, which means I'm always shooting for these high numbers and high things, and you always fall short a little bit, but you just keep working. Regardless of those numbers that I get or don't get, I'm having people reach out to want to be on the show. And that lets me know that, okay, when I'm asking you guys to share, do these things, you're doing it. Some of you are doing it, which is great. It's thankful, and I love it because it helps me connect with authors like my guest today, Scott Lackey. And Scott is, I spend a lot of time on the podcast talking to athletes, coaches, people like that in the sports world, but I really enjoy it whenever I have an author or someone like Scott. When I say that, because Scott's a lot of things. He's a speaker as well. He and I kind of work in the same world here. And I always, when it first started happening, people would reach out to me that I could easily see as a competitor as far as somebody who speaks and writes. But that's kind of a silly way to look at it, because I always find that an author, not every author reaches every reader. And whenever I find a new author, authors are great in the sense that they talk about something that we always talk about on the show, whatever the mentality, mindset, the way we see things, but put their own spin on it. And that spin, the way they see it, might reach one person and not another person. So you will never write a book or bring out a podcast or put out a piece of any content and assume that every person is going to love it and identify with it and resonate with it. So I love having guests like this in, because I know that they're going to say something in a way that's a different way than I say it. And it might resonate with somebody else. And that's, again, why I do the podcast, is to have people talk about different things in different ways and different mindsets, and how you might want to see your world, and how you might want to make changes in your life. And that's what we get in this episode today with Scott Lackey. Scott's been everything. You'll hear about it. He's a former military guy. He's run an Ironman. He's an inventor. He's owned a couple businesses and had a couple businesses fail and restart, which is always good perspective. And he's a speaker and he's an author. He's a lot of things. And I think the book is about doing a lot of those things, failing a lot of those things, and coming up with a perspective that I think is useful for a lot of people. So before we do anything else, his name's Scott Lackey. I'll put his stuff in the bio, in the links. So just all his information, the link to his book, the link to his speaking engagements. So if you like the way that Scott talks and what he's about, check him out. I'm sure he would love it. And if you do so, if you reach out to Scott, be sure and let him know where you found him, because that's another way to grow the podcast and grow everything. And I really enjoy doing it. And I thank you so much for doing that. So I'm going to jump into the interview now, and I will talk to you on the backside about some things that I took from Scott that I really, really enjoy how he did it, and how some things that I learned, and I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit personally and think about myself. So for now, enjoy the interview with Scott Lackey.
Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Toman, at Mental Mettle Coaching. All right, metalheads, here we go. It's the Mental Mettle Podcast. Your host, Coach Matt Toman, here with my guest today, Scott Lackey. And Scott, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because you've got a couple different hats you've worn over the years. So it's easier. I always find it easier to let my guests introduce themselves at the get-go rather than me get it wrong and stuff. So give me the Cliff Notes or the AI version, if you will, because you and I are old enough to understand what Cliff Notes are, but I know that
1,000%. And
So
what I'm going to do, since we started out, and knowing your coaching background, I'm going to give you scoreboard moments in my life. How about
Love
that?
it.
That's how I'm going to introduce myself. So here's the scoreboard moments. United States Army veteran, 2 years in Europe, some time over in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. College graduate in finance, also a semi-talented basketball player at one time, but that's not important. just since
Oh,
you,
you know,
I know
I
you're good.
basketball is my thing.
I know. I know.
So we'll, it's look, if you can hoop a little bit, that's always relevant,
Yeah,
man.
I could play good enough. I was respected in my trash talking, but that's another story.
There
So
I got you.
I've invented two different products. One of them was actually patented. So I am a patented inventor. I am a columnist in a newspaper. My articles are published every Saturday. I am a Ironman race finisher. I have done multiple half Ironmans, but one full 140.6. And of course, I'm also a published author. My book just this past weekend was number one of new releases on Amazon and number two bestsellers in leadership.
Oh, fantastic. Congrats for
So
that.
those are the scoreboard highlights of my life. And that may sound like that defines me, but it doesn't.
So I'm going to throw you a curveball. You gave me the highlights. Throw me a low light in there.
Yeah. One that I like to, I like to talk about because this garners a lot of shock and awe from the audience is my second invention that I patented was doing well enough, and my family was involved in the business, and my wife loved this business. It was a product called a childhood health passport.
Okay.
It was it was a small little passport size booklet that had everything that you needed from the time you were born until the time you turned 18.
Okay.
And just to give you that visual. And the business was doing well enough that a private equity firm agreed with our business plan and funded our company and my company for $3 million, the American dream. And 6 months later, they fired me and the management team, stole the company, ruined the company, but tortured me, as I tried to torture them for 2 years, but they had the money and I didn't. And we lost absolutely everything.
That's a low light.
That is the bottom of the pit.
It is. It is.
Especially when you have to go home and tell your pregnant wife with your daughter and 2.5-year-old son who doesn't know what's going on and just wants to hang out with dad, and your wife that everything around you has just been eviscerated. You just don't know it yet.
Oh my goodness. Like, did they have any, well, your kids didn't, but did your wife have an inclination that this was coming?
No, not this.
Oh,
hell, I didn't even have an inclination this was coming.
So it's just like a bomb.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah. Yeah. I call these, you'll relate to this. You've had this happen in your life. I call these in my book lightning strike moments.
Yeah.
And a lightning strike moment can be good or bad, right? But the ones we seem to focus on are the bad ones in life.
Yeah.
But to be a lightning strike, it is a wonderful metaphor and an image, in my opinion, because who you were a millisecond before, who you were as a human being, when lightning strikes, you can never return to being that person.
Yeah.
It can be a diagnosis. It can be being fired, right? It can be a long list of things on the negative side. But I can also say lightning strikes happen in a beautiful way, like the day I met my wife. Well, at the time I didn't know it, but that day was a lightning strike. It changed who I was as a human being. So it goes either way. But in this case, we're talking about the negative.
It is, but it's those things that you can look back in your life that you may, I think sometimes in the moment, that things are not going to be the same.
Oh, I think everybody
knows. Yeah, I think so.
You
said you didn't know
who you are.
You didn't know it was you said you didn't know it was she was going to be your wife, but you knew.
Well, I shouldn't say that I didn't know. This is it's a ridiculous story to most people, but it's the absolute truth. The second I saw my wife, I instantly had this feeling that was the person I was going to marry. And I mean, the second I saw her. But if you would have asked me 3 seconds before that, I would have laughed at you and told you, and I had a phrase for it. I will have nothing to do with the white picket syndrome. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
You're not harnessing me. No. And I knew, and I thought it was ridiculous. I write about this in the book too. I describe it in detail, but anyway, it's just crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah. No, one of my big lightning moments was like one moment I was fine. And then the next moment I can't even communicate with my wife, like sitting on the couch, and I can remember. And like, that is not but what's interesting and this, I want you to speak to this on the lightning strike moment. Everyone would say that's a bad lightning strike moment. Yet that is what propelled me to be here today, doing something that I love, doing what I'm doing. So it's, we say it's a bad thing, it's a negative thing, but it's
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there are some that just are unequivocally bad, I guess, but I don't know.
I'm going to argue against that, actually.
Yeah, that's why I said I was a little hesitant when I said it, but it's but yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna argue against that. I'm simply going to say that I'm not the first person to say this, right? But I deeply believe this, and I operate this way: is that it is never, ever, ever, ever about what happened, and it will always be about how you respond to it, not what you do about it, how you respond to it. That's what it's about. And as an athlete, I know that to be true. As a triathlete, I know that to be true.
Well, one of them's controllable, one of them's not.
That's correct.
Like the thing that happened to you is uncontrollable. How I respond is controllable. And that's everything, right?
That's it in a nutshell. But I mean, it's a lot deeper than that. But at 50,000 feet, that's it in a nutshell.
It is, though. But I think we have to take that 50,000 foot view sometimes to be able to distill it down into its parts. I mean, to me, I take the idea and say, you got to take something that happens to you and turn it into something that happened for you. And that's a mindset, right?
It is a mindset. But again, I like what you just said, though, is that you have to take the 50,000 foot view to have perspective. And that's absolutely right. Elevation creates perspective. You just can't stay at elevation because there's nothing happening up there.
Right,
okay.
Right.
And that's where people stay, right? They stay in these lofty dreams, these lofty ideas. And I'm like, dude, get out of your head, man. Get out of the clouds. Get on the ground and do something about it. You know,
that's what a lot of the young athletes that I work with. It's like, hey, I'm gonna get a college scholarship and do this, and I think that's fantastic. I love that idea. That's not our goal today when we go to practice, because you got to get. I love that idea. You got to get out of the elevation and get down in the dirt. Like for a military thing, you got to have boots on the ground, right?
Boots on the ground, man. We're the ones that make it happen. You can bomb it for an extended period of time, but eventually somebody's got to go clean house. And that's what we did. Yeah.
Oh, man. So you've got a lot of those. You gave me the highlights. You gave me some lowlights. Now you do a lot of, you're a writer and a speaker now.
Yeah.
What is and you've maybe talked about this a little bit. What's the thread that ties all this together?
Yeah. It's several things, simply because I've had that one particular lightning strike. I'm just going to say this. That's an early chapter in the book. The water gets a lot deeper after that, to be honest with you. So I just picked that one out because it seems to be an audience favorite sometimes because of my wife being pregnant and family involved in the business. But the central thread to all of it, literally the binding piece to all of it has really been my faith. From the time I was early in my life, where I knew this name, but I didn't have a relationship with this name,
Right.
and that's been part of my whole life. But I didn't really attribute it to that for a long time. But you go along and you talk about. Let me give you an example. Going back to the health passports, nobody's going to question how I felt and how I reacted and the questions I asked myself, all those dark tunnels you go through, right, when bad things happen in your life. Mm-hmm. We're all going to some degree, go through that. But the giant gift that I got out of that was a couple of years later when, that whole period of time of me screaming in my head, why me? What happened? What happened to my dream? Why does everybody else make it and I don't make it? It's all that stuff. And eventually one day, and I don't remember where I was, but I'll never forget this thought came into my head, and it was literally a single word. Just in my head, it just went, stewardship. I said, what? The hell's that about? What's stewardship about what? And what it was, after I started really thinking about that, oh my God, that's the health passport, is that I was operating a life out of this mindset of ownership. Mm-hmm. I control everything. Causality, X begets Y. I do this, I get that. This life of addition, that was operating in this life. If I have the car, if I have the job, I'm a patented inventor. If I do these things, people are they'll say nice things about me. And now I'm an inventor. I can go tell everybody about it. Just all of this worldly stuff that was not fulfilling me on the inside. It was emptying me from the inside out. And then to end with a lightning strike was the cherry on top of the cake, right? So I'm just telling you that story because going to stewardship, it was a big aha moment for me. And I began thinking about, well, if it was about stewardship, an open hand versus ownership, a closed hand, how does that change my life? Because when you have these realizations in life, these lightning strikes, I have to reconcile this. I have to know what is supposed to serve me or not serve me in this equation. And that out of that incident, that stewardship versus ownership came to me, and that changed my life directionally moving forward. It didn't avoid future lightning strikes that were bigger than that one.
Right.
But it changed the way I dealt with things in this mindset of stewardship versus so I'm going to say one last thing to be brief here. So there's not a single thread, but there are enough threads that they've created this woven blanket, this beautiful colored blanket of my life, right? But those threads are all from pain, not success.
Well, there's so much connection between what you said earlier too, that stewardship, like when we talk about the 50,000 foot view and boots on the ground, stewardship is the boots on the ground. Ownership is it's getting into the details and being a part of something that matters.
It is. And I don't want to confuse the audience, is that I'm not saying ownership's a bad thing.
No.
Right? At 50,000 feet, I am responsible for me, my attitude, where I'm going, how I feel, how I respond to things. That's ownership. We want that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we want to get on the ground and talk about stewardship. Okay, now what are the activities that I'm going to do to steward this process that I don't own, right? How am I going to be a good steward of my health? How about a good steward of my relationships? How about a good steward of learning the skill of being a basketball player or whatever it is, right? That's stewardship. None of that is ownership because it's fleeting. It leaves us, I'm not getting back on the basketball court and dunking the basketball anymore. That is gone, right? Gone. Still make a 3-point shot though, but that's another story.
I don't know. It fades too. But anyway,
I just don't want to separate those two. As ownership's not a bad thing.
No. But I think you have to have moments of both, right? Just like we said, you got to have the 50,000 foot view too, but you got to also get back in it. But I think that growth of any kind is usually about figuring out what you're missing and what you're not good at and building that. It doesn't mean that some of your qualities you already have aren't good, but you got to supplement it with sometimes the opposite.
Well, that's the saying again. I apologize to keep referencing this, but that's the exact saying I say in my book, which is the gifts are in the pain. Right? Yeah.
Well, I want to get into that. I as I looked into your stuff, I'm a big fan. Well, we kind of talked about this, but I want to talk about pain and that is how important that is, and not just pain, Scott. Not just the lightning strike pain that you don't have a choice, but the pain that you choose.
That's correct.
And I think that's what's huge. And I can know that you can speak to that because you're an Ironman finisher.
Well, and it's also part of the genesis of the title of my book, right? You're going to love this. The title of my book is Wake Up to Die Again.
Okay.
So wait a minute. Is that morbid? No.
I'm waiting to hear why it's not, but go for it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's because you and I both know you and I both know people right now. And we were one of these people I'm about to describe that we woke up every day to die just a little bit more to ourselves. Mm-hmm. There are millions of people right now, maybe listeners right now, that are waking up every day and they just die a little bit more and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get out. They don't know how to bounce back. They don't know how to get up. They need help. They need somebody to speak truth to them. But then there's the Coach Matt on this side and the Scott Lackey on this side, which is to wake up and die again is a beautiful thing because I'm choosing self-sacrifice. I'm choosing, and I mean punishment in a positive way. I'm choosing to go suffer and run and bike and swim and eat the right way and sleep the right way and recover the right way. I'm waking up to die again. I'm choosing to do those things because that's a gift to myself, because that gift to me is I learn more about myself. As a matter of fact, waking up to die again is answering the question about anything. What are you willing to sacrifice? Mm-hmm. right? Because at the end of the day, this is what I say to myself. I just think this is such a beautiful term. The more of myself I'm willing to sacrifice, the more of myself I find. Whether it's sacrificial love for my wife, my son and daughter, right? Or I'm sacrificing my time to go volunteer to help somebody or my neighbor, right? Those are things that the more of myself I sacrifice, the more of myself I find. And that's the beautiful side of waking up to die again. It's giving up something, exchanging something for something more.
Yeah, well, and when you get into faith, that's a tenet
of faith.
That it's
Die
a
to
tenet.
oneself.
Right, exactly. And the idea of self-sacrifice. And when my thought on pain and some of those things that you're talking about, getting out to do the hard things, is my thought on it is, if the more that we practice that, what I call the intentional adversity, the better prepared we are for the mandatory adversity that is coming at some way, shape, or form. And you're just more prepared for it, rather than you've got the mindset and you know how to get through it.
I'll take you back to the military training.
Yeah.
We never trained at 100% in the military, ever. Your equipment would break. You wouldn't be ready for combat. You'd break everything.
Yeah.
But we
Including yourself, right?
Including yourself, right? So we would train at 50 or 60% with moments where we would spike into some real stuff, right? But we would train at that level so that when you get over in the desert and the bombs go off or the guns go off or the fatigue shows up or whatever it is shows up, you at least have a general understanding of, okay, this isn't so foreign to me. There's no training like combat.
Yeah.
But you did enough that you got over there and you're like, okay, I kind of know where we're at. Now, you're never going to train for people shooting at you. I mean, but that's not what I'm trying to point out. I'm just trying to make your point, which is voluntarily putting yourself into uncomfortable situations, right? Whether it's, again, Ironman workouts, train for Ironmans. Voluntarily doing that produces results mentally and physically, and they're irreplaceable. I can tell you, doing an Ironman race, multiple now, it has changed who I am as a human being doing those races.
It has to, because it shifts your. And I haven't done an Ironman, and I've done a marathon. I switched. Then I don't do running anymore. My pain of choice is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but it's all this, you know what I mean? It's the same. Yeah. It's the decision to I could go home and do nothing, or I could go do this instead. Yeah. And that, I don't know. It's funny because I get people like you on the show, and I talk to people that we just it's a given. It also becomes, I don't want to say like a drug, but you're like, man, I'm kind of feeling a little bit, I'm not feeling myself. I need to go put myself through some pain. And
isn't that crazy though? But that's true.
I know.
And you can't explain that to anybody. They just tell you're an idiot.
Well, but I think that was going to be my next question. As an author, and I'm working on my book. It's with my editor right now. But my point is, you and I are doing the same things, and you say, I can't explain it to somebody, but man, I want to try.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how to, the best way to do that. How do you try to do that?
Well, I'll tell you how I did it. In my book, my book, this is not me telling you this. This is from all of my beta readers, my editor, all these people. Shockingly, I didn't expect this. Readers have taught me more about my book than me, and I was the author of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the answer to the question is going back to where I learned this phrase for myself. I reapplied this phrase to myself before I wrote the book, this voice in my head saying, Scott, what are you willing to sacrifice? And I came up with the traditional answers people would think. Oh, I'm going to sacrifice time, and I'm going to spend money. I'm going to sacrifice some money to do this, and I'm going to not do this, not all this stuff. And then that voice kept saying, that's not what I'm looking for. Not looking for that. You're going to have to do that anyway. And then one day, 45, 60 days into writing the book, that little voice came in my head, and I go, oh my God, I know what you're asking me. In order to write my book, to be authentic, to be truthful, to be natural, I'm going to have to sacrifice myself in the book. So that's how I did it. Now let's talk about the what real quick.
Mm-hmm.
When you finish 24 chapters, you're not going to leave the book going, man, Scott is the hero. No.
Yeah.
I actually sacrifice myself in every single chapter where I vulnerably tell stories.
See, that was the word. I had the word on my head. I knew you were about to say vulnerability because I believe it. Keep going, but
it's an absolute superpower for human beings. If you're
it's
willing
unbelievable.
to do it. It is a superpower. Yep. So I sacrifice myself in the book in a very public way. And there's nothing in there. There's nothing in there that I won't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's what goes back to something I said earlier. I genuinely believe this about us as human beings. The more we sacrifice of ourselves, the more of ourselves we find.
Mm-hmm.
The more of ourselves we find, that's the gift we give to us to be the best human being we can be, a better person today than yesterday. And when you give yourself that gift, okay, then everybody around you, your wife, your husband, your cousins, your neighbors, your spouse, your aunts, your uncles, grandparents, everybody around you benefits from you fixing what is broken in all of us. Is you fix what's broken first, and that's you. And I spend most of my life and time trying to answer the question, what are you willing to sacrifice? And then answering that question, almost everything, and then doing something about it. And I fell, and I get back up, and I get better, and some days I get it right. But that's how I did it in the book, is that I sacrificed myself, and through storytelling, which I'm hoping, based on what you and I know about each other, what I know about you is I'm hoping you're telling those stories, because nobody lived your journey or your story. Right. But I can take my facts of life and put them in your challenge and learn how you handle it, and then see what gold nugget can I pull from Coach Matt to try to help me out of this dark hole that I'm in. That's the gift we're giving to people.
Yeah. Because in that, I'm not special. No. You're not special, but we figured it out. And I think that's what it gives to people. Listen, I love you. Vulnerability, man, it's something I didn't believe in until I was forced to be vulnerable.
Yep.
And then I see the growth that I have from it, and I'm like, wait a minute, maybe there's something to that.
Yep.
And I grew up in time, place, situation, somewhat like you. I'm sure you and I went through playing basketball at the same time, and you went through the military. The idea of toughness was a very negative idea. Like it's repel all borders, never let anything else in. And like, we would even see these like old curmudgeonly teachers or coaches, and they're like, man, that guy's tough. And I'm like, he's miserable. He's absolutely miserable because he never lets anything in.
That's correct.
And what we think is toughness is actually fear manifested as just putting up walls. And there is nothing more liberating and more insightful than being vulnerable in the right situations. I do think there's places you can't be vulnerable.
No question about it.
But you need to,
you have to be careful.
You definitely need to be, yeah.
Early in my developmental phase of understanding and practicing, and I have to say practicing, dipping my toe in the water of vulnerability, right? I discovered how frequently I was very cautious about where I was tipping my toe in the water. And I began to question myself, what is it inside you that is making you cautious to telling the truth? Because part of defining what vulnerability is your willingness to tell the truth when you're not the hero.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a different kind of story, isn't it?
Yeah. So I began to question that about myself. What is it? And of course, what did you just say? Fear came up. I was afraid of what people are going to think.
Yeah.
I thought, well, wait a minute. If you're afraid of what they're going to think, is that you're the problem or they're the problem? Anyway, I reconcile that. And one day I was talking to my son, and he was telling me about, man, Dad, you're this. And one day, Dad, I want to do this. And when I grow up, Dad, this, and Dad's Army. And Dad, he was just building me up into this thing that made me sound awesome. And I thought, it made me sad. I was like, I'm teaching him the wrong things.
Yeah.
I'm teaching him Dad's invincible. And that's actually one of the worst things I think you can do as a dad, is that I want my wife, and matter of fact, right now, if they were in here and I said to them, I asked them, I need you to tell Coach Matt the truth, the absolute truth. If something was happening to any one of you, do you believe your father would do everything in his power to be invincible on your behalf? There'd be no question. Dad's coming. Dad's going to break something.
Yeah.
Right? But if I turned the question around and I said, hey, if you saw Dad and he saw something very emotional and he teared up over that, would you be embarrassed for Dad? And they say, no, that means Dad really loved it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's vulnerability. When your kids know that you can be fearless and you can be the protector, but at the same time, they know you'll love something unconditionally.
Yeah.
When you can do both of those things, man, that's real power with the family. Guess what? How cool would that be, Matt, if we can do that with the people that were around us?
Yeah.
That's infectious, I think.
Oh, I think so too. So now you say you had to dip a toe into the vulnerability pool. Is the water warm now? Is it like, are you in?
I swim in it every day, man.
So
no, I do. I was just talking
Yeah.
to a guy this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and he just bought my book. And, he's somebody that looks up to me, and he's much younger than me. He's a young father and has 2 kids and a beautiful family. And, he's going to absolutely learn things about me that are going to destroy what he thinks about me. And I'm so thankful for that, man.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. So that's why I say I swim in that water every day, because this isn't I don't care. I'll gladly sacrifice myself in a book if I can help someone become a better version of themselves. Because this isn't about me. I did not write this book for me. I'm not going to tell you, that's in the book who I wrote it for, but it wasn't for me. So.
Yeah, no, it was you as you. I'm got a metaphor bouncing around in my head when you're talking about dipping your toe in, because I had to do a cannonball, like a force.
Yeah.
It was somebody threw me into the pool.
I never did that. I was wading in and waiting, and I never.
But you still got there. This is the story I always tell to do it is I was an administrator. I was a teacher. I was like an assistant principal, and I had to do evaluations of teachers.
My wife's a teacher, by the way. She's a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you'll appreciate this. So this was a woman who was a second grade teacher, and I did her evaluation in, I want to say, August.
Okay.
And that would have been, it was probably in October. I think October. Okay. I did her evaluation. In January, she's coming back over to my house to help me learn how to read again, second grade level. Yeah. You would talk about just like unbelievably vulnerable and humbling. And I was like, so it's like, but now I know, man, that's all the growth came from that.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't what I would have chosen, but I'm there. No. Yeah. So on that's kind of a great segue. I know that you talk and you do a lot of different speaking engagements and different things. And one of the things you talk about is unbecoming.
Yeah.
Like unbecoming your past self and even forgiving your past self and moving, like what does that mean to you to unbecome something or a person?
Depending on where you are in your life, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Depending on where you are in your life, there is a part of you in some cases where you're going to have to forgive the person you never became.
Oh, that's a rough one. It's rough. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to emphasize the word forgiveness. I spent parts of my life wondering and hoping about other people's forgiveness, never giving myself a chance to be the receiver of that ever.
Yeah.
Got to be strong, protect the castle, right?
Yeah.
When I turned that inward, and again, I have these difficult conversations with myself. I've, for lack of a better word, I apologize. I have mastered the conversations with myself. There is no quarter. You're not hiding anymore. Yeah. We're way past hiding. But during those conversations early on, that question was posed to myself by myself. Why don't you forgive yourself? Why the crap does it matter what other people forgive you? If you can't forgive yourself, how the crap is any of this going to work out? And man, I wrestled with that. And I came to a place where I said, you know what? I understand. I can have acceptance and I can have responsibility and take responsibility. I talk about this in the book at great length of every single thing that happened. Even if I didn't do it, even if it turned out bad, I take responsibility for all of it. And the moment I take that responsibility, I'm going to bequeath to you, Scott Lackey, you are now forgiven. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to focus on getting that debt off of your heart, off your mind. You need to get rid of all that, because that weight that you're carrying around, if you don't forgive yourself, you're not getting to the other side. That weight was never meant to go with you. So that's a big part of it, is the ability to forgive yourself. And that's a really hard thing for people to forget about what everybody else thinks. Just forgive yourself to get rid of all that weight is a big part of it.
Welcome to Mental Mettle Coaching, where our mission is to help you learn to thrive in the face of adversity, not just survive it. We are passionate about empowering you to live, play, and work with a resilient and spirited mindset. Hi, I'm Matt Toman. I'm an ICF professional coach and keynote speaker. My background as an athlete, basketball coach, teacher, and school administrator has equipped me with the insights that resonate deeply with the schools, teams, athletes, and coaches I work with. However, it's my personal journey through anxiety, cancer, and an ischemic stroke in 2020 that truly brings authenticity to my presentations. While learning to speak and write again, I also pursued and earned my ICF coaching certification. Now the practices I embrace are more than theoretical concepts. They're a way of life. Developing a positive mindset is within reach for all, but it requires self-awareness and the repetition of intentional activities. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we'll guide you, your staff, and your students on this transformative journey. Together, let's forge your mettle.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're thinking about the mistakes you've made, things like that, and forgive, like, again, that's all in the past, and that is the most uncontrollable thing that we can, like, you got to learn from it. You got to learn, you don't want to keep making the same mistakes over and over again, but you got to let go of it like that. And that's, it's hard to do, because we really, that inner judge we have is really, really strong. And we have to be able to think about the things that we've done wrong and what we want to go forward with without passing judgment on ourselves, and giving that forgiveness. And that's really hard to do.
It is. And this is the paradox we live in, right? Is there is no causality where I do X to get Y. I mean, that works on a few things, right? If I go to all the practices and I'm consistent and I do this and I do that, am I going to probably get better? Yeah. Right. But it doesn't mean, like we started this conversation out, if I do everything perfectly, I'm going to college with a scholarship. No. You can have a wonderful career and never get tapped on the shoulder. That story's as long as time.
It's why you can't worry about that.
That's it.
You can't worry about what happened in the past, and you can't worry about outcomes. You could just worry about what I need to do right now.
That's it. And today, I love that you said that. I wrote about this in my book. You've heard the saying, we've all heard the saying, carpe diem, seize the day. We've all heard that. Do you know what nobody told us? That's just the part of the sentence before the freaking comma. Nobody told us the rest of the sentence.
Yeah. And
I discovered this, and it made its way into the book. And I'm not going to give you the whole Latin phrase, because I honestly don't remember it. That's why I wrote it, in the book. But I can tell you what it says. The English translation of the full sentence is seize the day, here, right, comma, and thinking as little about tomorrow as possible. Wow,
yeah,
that's profound. Because if you carry that forward, what that means is, first of all, it didn't say anything about the past, so that's a zero.
Yeah.
All right. Meaning you can learn from it. You can learn from your past, should learn from your past, but you do not have to carry that forward. There's your forgiveness. Then we get to seize the day. No truer words ever spoken. For not thinking or thinking as little as possible about tomorrow. You manifest tomorrow in what you do today, right? All possibilities only exist today. Anything possible only exists today where you're breathing air, not tomorrow. And I tell you, I don't do this. I was this way in high school and I got away from it. But in my current life right now, when people say, Scott, what's your 5-year plan? Couldn't tell you. Don't have a 5-year plan. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to come up with a 5-year plan. I mean, I'm sorry, I got to tell you this. I don't have a 5-year plan because I don't measure myself off of distance anymore. I don't care about distance. I only care about direction. That's why I don't have a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
I don't need a 5-year plan. I'm going the right direction. That's all I need to know. And you know what? As a listener, if you can figure out if you're going the right direction, not perfectly, but if you can figure that out, you don't need distance anymore. You don't need tomorrow. You don't need to carry the past. You just get to live in today. That's an awesome place to be. That's where I live.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think fundamentally, though, you've got to have a pretty good, and this is where your faith probably rolls in, you do have to have a pretty good moral compass and direction on where you want to go to have a measuring stick to say, oh, am I going the right direction? So you can constantly be like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother. Yeah.
It is, but because I've lost everything, literally everything more than once in my life, more than twice in my life, everything. This is why I'm immune to it. Is that if I wake up tomorrow and somebody says, I'm sorry, Scott, you don't have your house anymore. And your cars are paid for. You get to keep those in your clothes. If I have to go through that exercise, I'm not going to like it. I'm going to be upset about it. But it doesn't change my future. It doesn't change who I am. Now, again, people are not going to believe this. Read the book. I lay it out in the book, but there is a place you can get to, because this is where I live, where none of that matters to me. That's why direction is the only thing that's important. And by the way, if the direction doesn't happen, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about rock, I like to say the rock bottom, the thing about it is it's a pretty solid footing for a launch.
You aren't kidding, brother. And you know what else? So here's the nice thing about being rock bottom, and this is from my perspective, okay? When you get to the very bottom, when you've been there more than once, you know the way out. It's okay. Yeah. And that's why I like talking to people, is you're not there by yourself. There's other people like Matt and myself that if you'll listen to and talk to, we'll help you find the way out. You got to do the work. I think you talk about the story of the teacher. What an amazing story where she got back in the foxhole with you and showed you the way back out.
That's it. I think maybe that's another piece that's worth mentioning there is you do have to have, we're talking a lot about the things that we have to do personally and how to forgive ourselves and do this. But I don't think anybody does any of this stuff on their own. And finding those right people to help you do those things is invaluable.
I don't disagree in its entirety. I can only speak for myself. Is I made choices on whether these were small mistakes or large lightning strikes. I made choices, and in some of the choices that I made with my family was that I was always going to be dad and husband, and I kept a lot from them that I was struggling with and suffering with, like most men do. Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. And I became very good at it. And I know from your past, you became very good at it as well. And you described people that you could be 30 years old, 45, 52, 67, and you could wake up to die a little bit more every freaking day.
Yep.
And again, I'm rehashing that only because when there were some lightning strikes in my life, and there wasn't anybody there. Matter of fact, some of the people that I thought were my friends were the ones that betrayed me. People I went to church with, people I went and worked out with, that were holding the knife. Not physically, figuratively.
Oh, I gotcha.
Okay. They were the very betrayal. And then, of course, when that happens, everybody's like, what happened? And then in that particular instance I'm describing, I had to make a choice. And of course, I'd had lightning strikes in my life. I had to make a choice when that particular lightning strike happened of, we're not doing this again, meaning me. We're going to dig right in the middle of this and do the hard work, right? But there wasn't anybody I could talk to, is what I'm trying to say. Because who had been to, hell, the people I was talking to had no freaking clue. They'd never been to a dark room in their life.
Yeah.
What are you going to tell me? And I don't mean it arrogantly, but the
No, I
older
get
I
you.
got, yeah,
I think that there are people that can help that haven't necessarily been in your shoes, and that's
there are professionals that could have helped, but I
yeah,
didn't go see a professional. I looked in the mirror and said, "You better figure this out."
yeah. No, and I agree. Yeah.
So
So,
I'm not there. Listen, thank God there are professionals out there, because I'm not qualified, and you're not, right? There are things we're not qualified to do.
oh yeah, which is what yeah. So a big question I'm always asking, because I'm able to look at the things that happened to me and say these were negative things, or these are my lightning strikes that actually prompted me to change the way I do things. And that led me to opening my business and starting my mental metal coaching and doing this. And I'm really appreciative of all these things. Absent a lightning strike moment for an individual, how do people like people like me and you encourage others to want to change and not just keep dying the same way every day? Like, I find that to be the hardest thing. It's almost like this is a weird thing. It's like if sometimes people have a bad boss, but they're not a terrible boss. So they stay at a bad job for 30, 40 years. Whereas if that boss was like absolutely criminal, terrible, you would have left the job, started over, and you might be better off. So absent like a lightning strike moment, how do we get people to want to like employ some of the things that we're talking about?
Yeah. Well, I do believe the saying, "You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink."
Absolutely.
I believe that.
Yeah.
But I will also say that. So let's just set that on the left side. Now let's
Okay.
move to the middle.
Yeah.
All right. In the middle, are there people that you and I are going to interact with that are going to genuinely want to have conversations about, dude, I had a guy tell me the other day, "How do you do what you do, man?" So what do you mean? I mean, you work all the time, you travel, you're writing books, running races. How do you do it? And I just said, "I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, because we all have 24 hours a day, and I just use my time differently than you do."
Yeah.
That's all it is. I'm nothing special.
Yeah.
I use it differently. So there are people like that are willing to have the conversation, and they'll take a golden nugget or two, and they'll leave and they'll go and they'll try, and you can have that conversation with them. And maybe something you said, what's the saying? Nobody's going to ever remember what you bought them. They remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I can do those things, and we're going to spread grain everywhere as much as we can. Podcasts, books, meeting people at the grocery store, right? But somewhere, when you sift that out, there's going to be one or two or three or whatever number of people that really want to change. And that's where I pour my effort into, is that people who want to change. But I'm going to move to the right now. And on the right-hand side, I'm just being descriptive, but on the right-hand side, if you haven't suffered enough, I ain't got time for you. You need to go get punished. You need to go get your head beat. And I'm just going to tell you, you keep going where you're going, that's on you, bro.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll say it respectfully, but don't come complaining to me about your life sucks and you hate everything and the world's against you. I do not have time for that unless you're in the middle and willing to have a discussion. You see the difference I'm trying to make?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But if you're in the middle, I'll talk to you till the sun rises. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But if you're over here on the right-hand side and it's everybody else's fault, or you're on the left-hand side where I don't care what you say, I'm not drinking the water, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it that way. It's just true. There's only so many hours in a day.
In the conversation, the way I say it sometimes is like when we talk about motivation, I cannot push a rope, right? So I can only pull it, right? So I have to be like, you got to be part of it. So I get it. It's just, I think that's my frustration sometimes in a business like what we're doing is I'm with you. Like, I'm scattering the seeds, and I know that like some are going to take root. Some are going to, and I hear stories and ripples. And I know that I said this to one person and they did this. And because of that, this ripple, and I love that, but it's that I don't know. there's a little bit of frustration in that, man, I wish it would take more. I wish it would take more, but that's just what it is.
No, it is. But I'm going to tell you a story, a 15-year story. Have not seen a man for 15 years, seen or probably spoken to him in 15 years. Writing the book, he comes to mind because he is an authentic male that will tell you the truth without tearing you apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed him as a beta reader, as one of many.
Right.
Texted the cell phone number I had in my phone, still him. Okay. We catch up, tell him what I want to do. He says, Scott, I'd love to do that. It's great to reconnect, blah, blah, blah. Email him the book. I didn't know what was going on in his life. He didn't share what was going on in his life. 6 chapters in, I get a text message that makes me panic. Text message, I'll never forget it. Text message says, Scott, I'm sorry to have to send you this, but I don't think I can help you with evaluating the book. Made my heart sink. Oh my God, what's he going to say next? Rest of the text said, you don't know what's going on in my life, but in your first 6 chapters of your book, I have laughed and I have cried, and I've had to set it down because I need to fix some things in my life that you don't even know about. So I think you're going to help me more than I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he had me panicking and then he had me tearing up because this is a guy I hadn't seen in 15 years. So that's exactly what you just said, is that we don't know where it's going to show up. So I'm just doing what you're doing, which is I'm just trying to help other people, and to the point or to the extent that they're willing to receive the help. And then I move on and let them move on their journey. I literally wrote a story about this in a recent newspaper called my Saturday column, and it's called The Pilgrim versus the Expert. And you're the pilgrim, Matt. Okay. The expert, here's what they do. The expert shows up, barks orders at you, tells you what you need to do, and they disappear. But unfortunately, that's not how life works. Right? A pilgrim will show up, and the pilgrim will walk with you as long as you want them to walk with you, to support you until you're ready to go out on your own. And the pilgrim leaves to go find somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's what we see on the internet right now. That's what social media is all about right now. It's full of experts that have all the answers. Yeah. And if you just download this, do these 7 things, pay this $50 a month, whatever the crap it is, right? They're the experts. Run for your life. Find the pilgrims that will walk with you. Find the Matts that will walk with you. And that's where the real gifts come from.
Yeah, it's man, I don't get me going on social media, because it is a blessing and a curse.
A curse, yeah.
In so many ways. And I don't get as much. I don't grow on social media as much as I could, because I won't do it the way that I know that it will grow, in the sense that it is all about being negative and being
clickbait
and the expert, right? Yeah. But that's what, I
mean, think about everything I just said, and here we are on a podcast we're going to push out to the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I know, but it won't, you know what I mean? It's I don't know what you expected coming on here, but I am no Joe Rogan. No. But you get what I mean. Like, the people that will hear it, and
that's it. That literally is that is it. If one person hears this message and gets one thing out of it, green check mark. You know what I mean?
I agree. And then that's a way that that's the way I try to live anymore. I don't know who's reaching what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do and who it's going to reach. But I believe, my faith lets me believe that I'm not doing this for nothing. And
that's correct.
It's those seeds will land.
Man, if nothing else, Matt, I've been encouraged just listening to your story.
Well, same here, right? Yeah. What's my favorite part of the podcast is I get to meet people, because I don't know how you found my podcast, so I must be doing something okay on social media, right? Because you reached out to me. So there you go, right?
Well, it wasn't hard when I started looking up these topics of resilience and mental health and all this about who's podcasting on it. And then I watched a couple of your podcasts, and I was like, oh yeah, we're talking. Yeah, we need to talk, so.
Well, that's what's funny. The way you just said, like, you had to look for it. Yeah. Right. So, and that's what I mean. Like, people have to be looking for things like this and want sort of this. And that goes back to that motivation piece, right? So much, but a lot of times it's people that have had those lightning strike moments and don't know what to do with it. And maybe that's who we're here to talk to, Scott.
again, it could be, I'm convinced from experience that everything I thought I was going to be and going to do turned out to not be true.
Yeah. Well,
So,
what do they say about telling God your plans? Right.
man
Yep.
plans and God laughs.
Yep. So, but that's okay. You just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to run short on time here. And because I get the feeling we could continue to talk for longer than anybody would want to listen.
You know what we need to do? I need to get my book in your hands.
Yeah.
Because honestly, some of the topics, as deep as they are, I provide some, I have time in a book, right? To take things into that deeper pocket. I would love to get a copy in your hands because we could have a great conversation over the book on specific topics.
Let's do it. I would love to do that. Yeah. So last question I always ask my guests is, what is the question that I should have asked you that I did not?
I knew this because I asked this question when I in the office or with customers. I'll say,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to say it, but it's your questions. Yeah. The question you didn't ask me, right, is, Scott, why are we here today?
I guess I assumed, but let's go. Why are we here?
Let's go. Right.
Yeah.
For me, right. And I really did feel this from listening to a couple of your podcasts, is I think the purpose for you and I being here today is twofold. One is to have this literal discussion organically of how it came up, because there's somebody out there that needs to hear either part or all of this, whether it's because they're struggling or on the other side of that coin, they're not struggling and it's another Scott out there. And they just need to hear two men having a conversation about the truth and being authentic. And this is what our country was built on. This is what our neighborhoods are built on. And if somebody else sees this and this gives them permission to go have this relationship with somebody else, doesn't have to be out of lightning strike, right? But I think, why are we here today? I think it was those two things.
I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. And I think that's the cool thing about the podcasting world is I put that out there, and I get people reach out to me about a podcast that I did a year ago. Like, wow. I just ran, you know what I'm saying? Because they just find me at different places and see stuff or whatever. They Google whatever and it comes up. So it's there. And I know one thing when we talk about God, giving God our plans and him laughing, is his timing is not the same as ours either. And that is,
man, man, that's just racing through my head when he's got all the time in the world and we don't. And so I'm glad you brought that up because, at the end of the day, I can talk about questions and forgiveness and all that stuff, but at the very root core of my being, every mistake I made and every black hole I found, God wasn't running to me. He was already there when I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really what pulled it all together, man.
Yeah. So long as you're moving in the right direction, there we go again.
Listen, man, when I was moving in the wrong direction, he was there.
It's yeah. No,
I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Scott, this is fantastic. I'm going to put all your links in the show notes. We'll put it there, and anybody wants to check it out, do it. Give me a copy of the book. I'll definitely gobble it up, and we'll have a conversation about it. But I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's been listen. I don't know if maybe nobody listens to it, but I had a great time having a conversation with you. And to me, that is, that's not wasted time.
No, sir. Not wasted time. And you have earned the right to be called Coach Matt. And I love that.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. Been a pleasure.
Yeah. Let's just plan to do it again when you've gotten into the book.
You got it. Thanks, Scott.
See you, sir.
Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport. And they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Mettle Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set.
So as you listen to that interview, what you find out is what I said is it's really interesting talking to a author, because it's not the things that Scott is saying, and this isn't a diss on Scott at all. It's not all that different than a lot of the things that I say. He just says it in a different way. And that's what I really enjoy about authors and meeting different people. It's, a lot of this mindset training and things like this and the coaching. It's not so much the fundamental ideas that are new, because it's not. We're learning some new things, but it's all about the application, and that application matters with the individual that you're talking to. And again, that resonance, and you understand, I like the way this person says that, because that means something to me. And that just like it's that tuning fork. When I use that word resonance, it's that tuning fork that goes off when they say it that way. You're like, ooh, that matters to me. That makes sense to me. So it's not like the things that Scott is saying is that much different than a lot of things that I say or work on or do, but he's saying it maybe in a different way that you might enjoy. And here's some of the things that I took from what Scott said that I really enjoy is when he talks about his lightning strike moments. It's easy for me to understand that, because I can, but this isn't just me, this is everybody. When we talk about our lightning strike moments, we can make a list of them. We pay attention to them. And I enjoyed that, because he was giving me his scoreboard updates, like the highlights. And I asked for the lowlights, and he knew exactly what that was, because he was talking about this lightning strike moments, these big moments. And for you, the listener, as an athlete, as a coach, or just somebody listening to this, it's anything from like getting injured, getting cut, or not getting a job, or just a health diagnosis or a family crisis. It doesn't matter. I think that the things that I took from that is, I think the thing that I like to talk about and what I think is important is it's not, and this isn't being negative. It's the truth. It's not if, it's when. Like lightning is going, you're like in your life, you're probably not going to get struck by lightning, but you're going to metaphorically get struck by lightning multiple times in your life. It just happens. And I think that the worst thing that we can do is just assume and hope that never happens. We don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen. You're going to get hit. There's going to be those days in your life where you just feel like you get hit by lightning, and everything after this is going to be different. And the only things that we can do, there's two things, is one, we can prepare for it. And that's where I talk about the importance of doing that intentional adversity that Scott and I talked about, because the mandatory adversity is coming. So that lightning strikes, and that things are going to be hard from then on and different from then on, because you're out of your comfort zone, out of your rhythm, out of everything. And now it's going to be really hard. And by training yourself to go through adversity, you have a little bit more resilience, a little bit more grit, so that when you get hit by that lightning, you're ready to go. And he and I talked about it. He's done Ironman. So and I have guests like this on all the time that do things really hard on purpose. If you didn't listen, just a few episodes back, I had Kyle Thompson, who is a regional superintendent down in Charleston, Illinois, and he does 100-mile races for the same idea. And I found him through a friend of mine named Rob Ullum, who does 100-mile races for the same idea. And I could go down the list of all these guests that I've had that do it. And it's something that I try to do, is I try to choose hard now so that you're ready for hard later. And that's the idea of mettle. So I could get into this all day. This is the whole idea, but that's the first thing you can do when it comes to lightning strikes, is understand that it's going to happen. You might as well be prepared. You can't be prepared for the way the lightning is going to strike, but you can be prepared for your ability to respond to it. And that's the second thing you can do, is it's how you respond to the lightning. It's not again, it's not if you get hit by lightning, it's when. And you don't get to control when and how or anything like that, but you can only respond. You can only control how you respond. And the more that you prepare for that, and I've got a little grit, I've got a resilience because I've done this and I've done that and I've done this. So when this happens, when something I'm not expected, I'm ready for it. And it's because the thing is, your career, your life, they're less shaped by what happens to you and more shaped by how we respond. If you continually think about, well, I'm here because this happened to me, you're not thinking about, I'm here because I made this happen, or I did this, or this is how I responded. That's the key to life. I don't want to get too grandiose here, but that's the key. It's not what happens, it's how we respond to it. And when he's talking about those lightning strike moments and how that's a given, it's going to happen. But what's more important is our response and our daily choices and how we're going to do that. And I just love that part. The other thing that I loved when he was talking about, one of the things he was talking about, carpe diem, and how the idea of course, seize the day is, everybody talks about seize the day, carpe diem and all that. I didn't know the rest of it. Like he talked about how it's not just carpe diem and seize the day, but then the next part, which is, and think as little as possible about the future or the next day, because it's such a hard thing. And I was talking with a student athlete that I was working with just yesterday. I do the student athlete coaching, the mental performance coaching with her. And we were talking about goals, and we have to have goals. It gives us that direction. And Scott talks about that as well. We have to have that direction. We want to be able to have a direction to go, and we have to know which way we're going and where we're going and what we want to do and maybe what we want to become. I want to get this scholarship. I want to get this job. I want to do this with my life. We have to have that, but it can't be the forefront of our life and our mind and our daily thing. Like our daily routine, our seize the day is just that. Our seize the day is, what am I doing today to get better? Now, those things that I'm doing right now, today, if you've done a little bit of like planning of your life and thinking about things and these goals, the things that you do today are likely, they should be, or you're not going to get there. They're going to be aimed at what you want to become. Now, again, lightning can strike anytime and it can change those things, but that doesn't mean we don't have to have a plan or shouldn't have a plan. So this idea is that seize the day. And I love the idea seize the day, especially when he talks about, and don't worry about tomorrow. And it's probably not in there, but he's probably saying not to worry about the past either, because when we talk about mindfulness, and I do this all the time when I talk to the student athletes that I work with, is I ask them if they know the term mindfulness, and they go, oh yeah, I know what mindfulness is. We talk about it all the time. And then I ask them to describe it. Well, what is mindfulness? And they really struggle with it, and they don't really know what that means. Well, mindfulness is that seize the day, in the sense that we have to be very aware of the here and now, our physical senses, and what's going on right now. It's not about the mistake I made even 30 seconds ago. And it's not about the future that I'm trying to aim for. It's about, what do I do right now? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I seeing? What am I acting? What am I controlling right now? And that's mindfulness. And I have a lot of exercise I do with athletes to help them get back into it, because most of our anxiety, most of our stress is when we are focusing on the past and the future. So that mindfulness is really important, and paying attention to right now. So it's just that idea of that carpe diem, seize the day, but with a little bit of an idea of which direction we're going. So I'm seizing today with an aim at one direction. And Scott talked about this. I loved how he talked about directions more important than distance, because the metaphor there being that, like, as long as you're moving in the right direction, things are good. And I think about this, like when we go for a hike on a trail. I love my wife and I, my family, we love to go hiking, and it's not about, you can't really judge necessarily a trail by just how far it is, because it's the terrain, it's the elevation, it's the weather, it's so many things. You just keep going in the direction. And it's to say that a trail, it's almost important anymore. It's not even, it's ridiculous to say, well, how far is it and how long is it going to take? Because there's too many factors. But so long as you stay on the trail and you keep moving in the right direction, that's the point. That's what we want. So this idea of, again, that carpe diem and direction is just about, stop living in last season, stop living in 5 years from now. It's all about your power in today, and to step in the right direction. This rep, this practice, this class, this meal, this recovery, this conversation. Am I acting in this moment in a way that's going to move me in the forward direction? And what's really great about that is it makes things so simple. Not easy, but simple. If I want to become this is how I need to act in these situations, and I'm going to put everything I've got into that. And that is, it applies to just whatever you want to do. As so long as you have that focus in that direction that you want to go, but then also be prepared for the fact that lightning is going to strike, and it just happens. And it's just, I love the way that Scott's taking it, or talking about it in his book. I'm going to check it out. He's going to get me a copy, To Wake Up to Die Again. It's a provocative title to get your attention, and it'll be interesting because of the way he kind of phrases stuff. It'll be good. So really cool. I loved having Scott on. I will end the show the way I started it. Like, share, subscribe. If you made it this far, if you're listening to the entire show, do me a favor. The next time you see something on social media, comment. Just say something and say, hey, I enjoyed this last show. That's all it takes. It doesn't have to be, over thoughtful. Just say, hey, I caught this show. I loved it. I would really appreciate that. It would really help the algorithms and help me know you're out there. And somebody might see the comment, like it, and you never know. It leads to a new guest, somebody who, a ripple that's going to change their life, and little things like that. You may not think like it's much, but it's going to help. So if you made it this far, drop a comment on the next time you saw one of my posts on social media. I'd appreciate it. But for now, this has been the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Tillman, and always remember to forge your metal. Thanks for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Mettle Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your metal.